Welcome to the Left of Straight Show, where we talk entertainment, music, books, foodies, and more each week with special guest interviews of interest to the LGBTQ community and our straight allies. Direct from the entertainment capital of Northeast Ohio. Your host, Scott Fullerton, chats with some of your favorite entertainers, celebrities, newsmakers, and behind-the-scenes people across the country and around the world who make it all happen. So sit back, grab your favorite beverage, and let's start talking.
Alrighty, friends, welcome back. Today we dive into the captivating world of authors and their stories. I'm excited to bring back to the show Byron Lane, a multi-talented writer with experience as a playwright, a screenwriter, and a journalist. Originally from New Orleans and currently living in one of my favorite cities in the world, Palm Springs, California. Byron has had an exciting career that includes working as a personal assistant for, get this, the late, great, amazing Miss Carrie Fisher. And Byron's debut novel, A Star is Born, has been described by the New York Times Book Review as wildly funny and was inspired by his time with Carrie. So that's exciting. He's back today to talk about his next great, soon-to-be-released novel, Big Gay Wedding, that tells the story of a family and town forever changed by a gay marriage. So please welcome back to the Left of Straight Show, the handsome and talented Mr. Byron Lane. How are we doing, sir?
I'm doing great, Scott. Thanks for having me.
I am so excited to have you back on the show. We had a great chat pre-pandemic decades ago when your first book came out, and amazing stories there. So much fun, inspired by your time with Carrie Fisher. I'm sure you still got to miss her every day, but you got that little piece of history to keep you reminded every day on the bookshelf, I'm sure.
Yeah, when I wrote that one, I really did want to capture the spirit of our time together. And I did think to myself, you know what, when I'm 90 years old, if I make it that far, I would love to crack this thing open and kind of have these little reminders. So
Nice.
That really was the hope, is to capture that moment in time.
Awesome. I love that. Well, let's go ahead. We'll get into the book in just a second. Thank you for the advance copy. And I'm going to put a picture up here. The thing is probably backwards right now, so we'll put it up during the editing here. But let's talk about a little background first. Remind the listeners a little bit about you. What got you from New Orleans to La La Land?
Television journalism. So when I was a kid, I wanted to be a TV news anchor and host the Today Show and do all that good stuff. And so in college, I studied broadcast news, and I started working at a local TV station, and then got a job as a weekend anchor at a small station in Alexandria, Louisiana, and then got a job at a big station in Las Vegas, just as a morning show reporter. And then when my contract in Las Vegas ended, I moved out to Los Angeles and worked at CBS 2 and KCAL 9 for a while as a news writer. And then I got into writing other things. So I wrote a movie, an indie movie called Herpes Boy, which stars Beth Grant and Octavia Spencer and me. I play one of the main characters, and that was really fun. And I did some web series stuff, and then then started working for Carrie, and then wrote a play called Tilda Swinton Answers an Ad on Craigslist, which we traveled with all over the world. Really, we went to Edinburgh Fringe twice, and then Carrie passed away, and I posted something about our time together on Facebook, and people responded with such love and such interest, and it felt like the world could use. I felt like I could use a little hug, and it seemed like the world needed one too. And I thought, I'm gonna try to capture the spirit of my time with Carrie Fisher in A Star is Born. And so I wrote the manuscript, and it's been well received, and that was pretty life-changing. And then I was talking to my agent and my editor about what my next book could be, and my partner Stephen Rowley, he's also an author, and he's pretty fancy, and he wrote Lily and the Octopus and The Guncle, and has a new one, The Celebrants, coming out, which I hope we get to talk a little bit about. And and Steve and I had just got married. We got married. I had testicular cancer, and so I had to get chemo. And then the pandemic started, and our world got really small, and we got really close. And we had been dating for 8 years or something, 7 years, and we decided to get married. And also, by the way, it's a little easy to do that when you're just gonna have a small wedding. It was just the two of us, and our good friend Aaron Rodman was our officiant, and Stephen found a little house here in Palm Springs that had been untouched since the 60s. So it was that crazy carpet and crazy curtains and bright colors. And so we got married there. And when I was talking to my agent and my editor about what to do next, they said, well, you just got gay married. What about something like that? And and so that kind of inspired Big Gay Wedding, although ours was a little gay wedding. So a few changes had to happen to make it a big gay one.
Nice. So I can't wait to talk about. Let's talk, go over some of these ones you just talked about, because I think there's some amazing work there. Tilda Swinton answers that on Craigslist. I mean, Tom Lenk, I loved. I remember seeing a posting about your show in Broadway World. I think I was reading at the time. And I had known Tom from Witches at East End, which is, I like those little sci-fi creepy movies and everything. So I remember from that, the name recognition there. I had not really met you yet. But I kind of read everything that was going on there and saw that it was a whirlwind take everywhere. That had to be pretty exciting. I mean, that was getting rave reviews everywhere. What was the impetus of that? I mean, people that might not know Tilda Swinton, in my world, I'm a huge Marvel geek, so they probably know from Doctor Strange and Avengers now, but she's an amazing writer, producer, actress on her own. But talk about the impetus for that show.
So, gosh, that's been one of the highlights of my life, working with Tom Lenk and the rest of the cast and traveling all around with it. I had done an indie movie, and I did a bunch of web series stuff, and I hadn't done a play. And I thought to myself, well, you know, what do you need for a play? You just need a theater. And it seems like much more doable than the other projects where you need film and sets and cameras and crew and all this stuff. So I thought, let me just write a simple story. And we had adopted a dog named Tilda, and Stephen came up for the idea to name her Tilda because she was blonde and scraggly, and she only had one eye, and she had these crazy teeth, but she was also beautiful. So like there was this quirkiness, but also this beauty. And we were on a trip somewhere. We were coming home on an airplane. He was reading People magazine, and a picture of Tilda Swinton was in there. And he said, hey, what if we call the new dog Tilda? And so then we adopted Tilda, and I wondered what it would be like if, and so she was inspired by Tilda Swinton, and I wondered what it would be like to live with the real Tilda Swinton. And so that's really what the play is about. It's basically Tilda Swinton, played by Tom Lenk, is a modern day Mary Poppins who floats into this depressed gay man's life and helps him address issues with his work, with his relationship, with his family, and then she kind of flies out again. And so that's really the story. It's been so fun to do, and we keep we're on a big group texting chain, and we keep trying to decide where to do it next and when to do it next. So stay tuned, keep a lookout. I'll keep you posted.
Nice. We will get back on that for sure. And then last will and testicle. I mean, fuck cancer. Excuse my language. I mean,
fuck cancer. Yeah.
With that. But amazing web series. Has some of my favorite people. You talked about Beth Grant. I'm a huge part of the Sordid Lies family. I know everyone from there. And so I knew Beth from there, of course. And then Drew Droege is always amazing. Sam Pancake, whatever they do. And all of you guys were so much fun in that. Talk about, was that almost therapeutic to be able to kind of play with it that way?
Yeah, it really was. My testicular cancer first showed up in 2015, and it came back in 2020. But I'm fine now, and everything's cool. But when it first happened, it felt like a real setback, and one of the first times in my life where I sort of had to think about mortality and all that stuff. And I was telling a family member about the experience, and their reaction was actually funny. I had had an injury to a testicle when I was a teenager. And so when I told my dad, he was kind of like, well, how many testicles do you have right now? He was just like trying to keep count. And to me, that was it just brought this humor, and I feel really lucky that I was able to see it as humor. And so then I took some of those moments, and it really was therapeutic to put all that into a work of art. Carrie Fisher used to say, "Take your broken heart and go make art." And I think that's so true. It's so helpful to take those moments and turn them into something bright and shiny and meaningful. And so that's what I did. I kind of wrote this Last Will and Testicle, and people were so kind to be a part of it. Drew joked that in another play he played a vagina, and this play he plays one of my testicles. So he's like rounding out his resume. Sam Pancake was thrilled to play my testicle surgeon. And then Jonathan Van Ness was living in LA at the time. This was before Queer Eye, and he also played one of my testicles. And so it was just such a great group, and we all had so much fun. And I'm so glad you liked it.
It was fantastic. I watched both seasons, so very cool. I won't go too much into Herpes Boy too much, but just Octavia Spencer, she's always been so real. I mean, she's come across all these different circles of people that I've met doing the show. She seems real 100% every time. Let's go have coffee and a donut kind of girl. How is that working with Anne Beth Grant? Two amazing actors at the
Oh
time.
gosh.
Did you have any kind of relationship with them before, or?
I knew Beth before, and I had said to Beth, "Hey, we're looking for a character to play my coworker, and she's really funny and sassy and a big personality." And Beth was like, "I know." And this was before all the big stuff. So this was before The Help, and this was before the Mindy Project. And Beth had a big following from Donnie Darko and Tu Wong Fu and all these other great films. And we were lucky to get Octavia before she kind of blew up. But it was hard to do scenes with her because she's so funny. She's so funny. She's so real, and she's so kind. And we're just a bunch of we were really at that time just a bunch of kids putting together this thing and borrowing people's houses to shoot scenes. And she would show up right on time and in her costume and knew her lines and treated us like we were a bunch of Spielbergs, and we were nothing. So it was really special of her to do that.
That's amazing. Last one we'll talk about real quick is you were part of the See Yourself digital contest for Project Greenlight back in the day, top 20 finals. But the thing I found interesting about that is the character that's played by Tim McKernan almost is like the influencer culture we have today. And this was back in 2015, 2016. So I thought the correlation there was kind of fun.
I like to think I'm a little ahead of my time. So Herpes Boy was also about a kid who accidentally got famous on the internet, and that was around 2008. So YouTube was just starting. I don't know if you remember this thing called Lonely Girl 15, but that had just started. It was a young teenager who had a web series, and then it was revealed that it was scripted and that kind of thing. And in Herpes Boy, it's really dated now because he becomes famous, but the numbers are off. Nowadays, you get millions and millions of views, and his wasn't like that. And then we had a similar thing happen with oh my gosh, with gay divorce. It was similar, this influencer culture, and now it's pretty popular for a gay couple to announce that they're getting divorced or breaking up, and it becomes like a whole thing, and then it kind of sometimes it launches both of them. And so that's really what Gay Divorce was about. And we were semifinalists then, and I wish we would have won. I wish we could have made that show, but maybe we still can. Who knows who's watching and checking it all out. And Tim McKernan is a dear friend of mine, and he's brilliant, and I was so lucky to have him in that. And that was just like a teaser trailer, but we had so much fun shooting it, and maybe it'll find new life.
Ahead of your time, indeed. I like that. All right, well, let's jump into the book, Big Gay Wedding. I told you off air, you were kind enough to send it to me before the interview a couple weeks back. And I was able to read it in one fell swoop and enjoyed every second of it. I'm a fast reader to begin with, but I had a good down day and I just couldn't stop reading it. Just so much fun. The characters were interesting. Give your kind of Reader's Digest synopsis of the book. How do you explain it to others?
Well, I'll give you the super quick pitch, which is it's a modern take on Father of the Bride, but instead of a father, it's a mother, and instead of a bride, it's a groom. But really, it's about this conservative mom who runs a rescue ranch for misfit animals in rural Louisiana. And her son is coming home with some news, and she thinks he's coming home to take over the farm, but he's coming home to tell her he's engaged to a guy and he wants to have the wedding on the farm. And the news is not well received at first. And so it's really a book about a mom coming out as accepting and loving her gay son. And so it's really a family story, and I hope people love it and have a good laugh and find it heartwarming and all the feelings I felt while I was writing it.
Indeed. And talk about, I mean, talk about personal experiences. I mean, we had Stars Born kind of based on your experience with Carrie. This has Louisiana background. Is that kind of as far as it goes? Or did you and Stephen have any kind of interaction with your parents? How much of your own history goes into all of your novels?
I really do mine my life a lot for all of these projects, and sometimes it's heavily mined, and sometimes it's a whisper of a truth here or there. I would say also, by the way, I think it helps with the authenticity. Like, I mean, sometimes when I hear an author say in an interview, "Well, that's how it happened in real life," I sometimes am like, "Ugh," but sometimes that is how it happens in real life, and I can't say that in Big Gay Wedding, any of the big major things were things that happened in my life, but those are all people who I've known some version of as a parent, as a grandparent, maybe even as like a server at a restaurant. The Louisiana culture is very rich and very interesting, and in some cases kind of closed-minded, and people like a slow pace down there, and that includes like what do I call it? Intellectual evolution or being progressive.
Nice.
So, and I did have conversations with like years ago, like with my mom, like we would talk openly about, well, what do you want to do when you retire? And conversations about whether I would move home and take care of her. Or my mom's so sweet. She always really believed in me. And so she would say things like, well, when you have your big mansions, maybe you can build me a little house off to the side, that kind of thing. And I'm kind of far away from mansions and casitas, but I did think, well, what if that was the dynamic between Chrissy, the mother in the book, and Barnett, her son? What if Chrissy had the thought, this farm has been here for generations and it's waiting for you, and I'm getting old, I have arthritis, who's going to take over? And an expectation that her son would be one thing, but he's choosing to live his own life.
Right. And the themes are very universal. I mean, we talk religion, we talk a little bit of the shame, we talk about acceptance eventually, and even you have kind of a death going through there with one of the persons in your mom's care there, the mom character's care at the ranch. So you have some really high-arching themes that are universal to everybody. And I think a lot of people can relate to different parts of this book, right?
I hope so. I mean, sometimes I'll read a comment about it or a little review, and I'm pretty open-minded to how people take it, and I know that everyone will receive differently. And in some cases, it's been compared to the TV show Schitt's Creek, with the and that was a show that wasn't afraid to tackle big things and to use humor as a way in and out. And so I like to think that it's a little bit like that too. And in real life, we're all living lives that are pretty crazy if we really boil it all down. We face illnesses and deaths and arguments with family members, and at the same time, we want to turn on the TV and watch a rerun of Seinfeld or something, and have a laugh with our friends. So life really is a mix of those things, and so I enjoy writing that way too.
Very true. Very cool. And did you face any challenges while writing the book? I mean, did it come pretty easily to you? What's your writing style? Do you kind of find it an easy process? Do you have to really think about it and come back to it? How's your style work?
Gosh, well, this is technically the fourth manuscript I've written. It's only the second published. And the first one was like, I was still living in Vegas. So that was 2002 or something like that. And that one I just kind of like barfed out, and it's really pretty terrible. No idea, no sense of what structure was or anything like that. And then Star is Born was my second one, and that one I had real life to kind of use as an example. And then when it was time to send to an editor, I wanted it to be in the best shape possible. So I hired a couple of freelance editors to look at it, and they gave me advice about, well, do you notice how if you move one chapter here and move this one here, you create a sort of, tension and a dynamic that's compelling? And I was like, yeah, wow. So that was like going to writing school, really. And then during the pandemic, I wrote another one that's just kind of on the shelf. It's darker than A Star is Born and Big Gay Wedding, like heavier themes. So I'm trying to find the right time and the right tone for that one, Scott. So I'm still working on it. But when Big Gay Wedding came along, that was an interesting process because it started with just my editor, James Malia, having this idea like, well, what about a Big Gay Wedding story? And then I was thinking, well, an easy way to write that story is, rich New York, opulent designer clothes and all that stuff. And that it's not really me. So I was like, how do I make this story me? And so I had pitched a few ideas, and at the end of the day, it really was your basic sort of hero's journey, where you have a mom who's lonely and really wants her son kind of all to herself, and then the son isn't offering that. So the tension and the conflict was all there, and it was really fun to write. I really love those characters. I love Ezra so much because I'm a little bit woo woo. So that hippie stuff is right up my alley. And I love Victoria, Ezra's mom, the sassy New Yorker. Man, I love a sassy New York lady. I was inspired a little bit by Lucille Bluth from Arrested Development when I was writing Victoria. And then Pawpaw, the old grandpa, Barnett's old grandpa, who has just like kind of surprising little words of wisdom and stuff, basically because he's in a nursing home and they made him watch Glee. So he sort of had this awakening about what's going on in the world around him. And I just feel a lot of love for all those characters, and I hope it all translates.
I think it really does. I mean, like I said, characters are great. Papa is the voice of reason behind the scenes there, and has some great moments for himself. The juxtaposition between Everett's character and his fiance and the backgrounds are such a great dynamic to see play out together. When the two moms are together, the writing is impeccable. I just love their interplay. So well done.
Thank you.
Let's talk. Now, hopefully we're going to have Stephen be able to come on in a couple minutes here.
Yeah, I hope he can jump in here soon. Yeah.
All right, great. I'd love to kind of see how your writing styles compare or difference. I mean, do we have separate parts of the house? So we all have our own little view of the mountains and the desert.
Right.
Is it nice to, do you kind of take it like a work job so you're not together 24/7? Because
right.
I'd like to hear about your guys' working style together.
Cool. Well, hey, babe. I think I told him 10:30, so I think he'll jump in. He'll jump in soon. It's a great question. And I'll tell you, he seems the most disciplined of the two of us. So he is like, I'm writing 1,000 words a day. And in the evening, he'll be like, I have 60 more words to write. Like, he's very disciplined and serious about it. And he does work on, we have a small house, but it's in one, like on the farthest half. And then I work in our bedroom in the other half, and that's generally where we fall. But we'll meet in the middle in the kitchen for lunch and check in. How's it going? The other great thing about living with a writer is I'm with someone who kind of gets it. So and likewise for him. So when we have days that are frustrating, where we don't think our work is very good, it's nice to have a partner there who's willing to lift you up. Or if we are suddenly inspired. And he might say, hey, can you walk the dogs? I want to go write this. And sure. Or finally start a movie or something. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I just had this idea. Can you, go on without me or wait for me or whatever. And it's nice to be with someone who kind of understands that sort of dynamic,
I bet. That's fantastic. It's always nice to have someone that kind of gets you. And I
Yeah.
mean, every relationship is different. Hopefully, you have those moments. But when you share a career goal too, it does really lift each other up, like you say. And hopefully, I mean, you guys can proofread each other and kind of have fun and get lost in each other's world as well a bit.
Mm. Yeah, we are definitely each other's readers, first readers for sure. And gosh, that's like, especially at the beginning for me, it was so great to be able to lean on him for all that, to say, what do you think of this work? Um, and then, to be honest, other stuff too, like, does your agent do this? Does your publisher do this? What was your experience with a publicist? Like all of those things to navigate it was really great. And he's been so successful that it's fun to have that to aspire to, and to be able to see what it looks like from that angle.
Nice. And
Should I scream some more and try to get him?
Yeah, let's go ahead and take a break,
Yeah.
and we will get him. We'll be back in just a couple of seconds.
Okay. Scott, look who I found. It's this guy.
Yay!
Good morning.
Let's see.
Get your chair in
Mr.
here.
Stephen Rowley, how the heck are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am so excited to have you on the show. Stephen Rowley, thanks so much for being on the Left of Straight show. Your husband's brags about you all the time. You have the book, The Celebrant, coming out the same day as Big Gay Wedding. So we're going to have a separate interview talking about your career. We were just asking Byron, what's it like having another author in the family and being able to kind of work together? Is it a help or an hindrance? How does it influence your work?
Wait, what did he say?
Yeah, I said good things.
Good, okay,
I
all
said
right.
good things.
Yeah, it's actually really lovely. I mean, there's a couple immediate benefits. One, I like that our house is quiet. So I know other author friends who try to share workspaces with spouses who are on loud conference calls or, what have you, or their job requires them to, bang around the house in a noisy way. And so ours is not like that, which is good. And then two, we are each other's first readers. So we give each other notes, support. There's a sort of an emotional understanding, I think, about what the job entails and what we might be feeling at the end of the day. So it allows us, hopefully, to help lift each other up, which doesn't mean there aren't some professional jealousies sometimes or other things to navigate, but I think we do pretty well.
And what do you guys think of for an environment? I mean, you live in beautiful Palm Springs, one of my favorite cities. You're indoors for at least June, July, August. Is that when you guys vacation? Do you guys ride at home? Do you guys sneak down to the Panera? What's your writing styles when you're working together both of you?
Yeah, I mostly write at home. I think that was really cemented over the pandemic when we really had no choice. But I got used to being able to control my environment, so temperature, sounds, whatnot. As a writer, you're always tuned in. If I'm at a coffee shop, I'm always kind of eavesdropping on the conversation at the next table, which is, perhaps good for inspiration or for material, but not so good for productivity necessarily. So, and I got really good at it. So if you're at a coffee shop and you're sitting next to someone writing at the laptop and they have their headphones in, don't assume they're listening to anything. They might just be using that as a cover to listen to you.
Good advice. I call Panera my office away from home because I spent a lot of time there sending emails, and same thing, you kind of get caught up in the conversations around you. It's like, well, that's much more exciting than sending an email, and your productivity goes way down.
Exactly. But on the other hand, no one can fix me a good tuna sandwich here the way I could probably get at bar. No offense,
That's
but
fine.
at Panera, I never get soup in a bread bowl at home.
I like it. That is so much fun. So, Byron, what do you see in Stephen's writing that really helps you? What has he brought to the table for your writing?
God, well, his writing is full of heart and humor. It's obvious on every page, and so it's impossible to not be inspired by that. So I would say, my heart is touched by reading his work, and then I'm also inspired and hope that I can bring that to my work too.
Yeah, I do think there's a similar, we write in a similar vein, and so I always wonder what it would be like to be like if I were writing speculative science fiction and you were a thriller writer or something like something completely different. But there is nice overlap in what we do. So I think even if we weren't both writers, even if we weren't, married to each other, I think we still would find and read each other's work. It's because it's right. Byron's work is right in my wheelhouse, and hopefully vice
I
versa.
really love that. Well, I won't keep you too long, Stephen, but go ahead and give my listeners a Reader's Digest version of The Celebrants coming out in May along with Big Gay Wedding. And then we'll have our separate interview to talk about what this book is about.
Yeah. So The Celebrants is a kind of a modern take or a Gen X take on The Big Chill, which is a movie I rewatched early on during while we were sheltering at home in the pandemic, and one I had always remembered and liked for its glossy cast of future Oscar winners. But when I was rewatching it, it's a movie about middle age and characters dealing with middle age, and all the characters and all the actors are 35 in the movie. And I thought, oh, hell no. So we're going to readjust what it means to be middle-aged. And it's a look at how growing and aging has changed a bit in the 40 years since that film.
That's the way I feel when I see that A Million Little Things on ABC.
Yeah.
Too much, it reminds me of Big Chill. It's like, I can't deal with this as a series.
Yeah.
Well, Stephen Rowley, thanks very much for being part of the Left of Straight Show today. We'll have to sneak in another time, but thanks for stopping by.
All right. Great to talk to you.
Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Okay.
I guess we're getting rid of you. Bye, baby.
Byron, thanks so much for sharing your husband with us today. That was a great treat. I appreciate it, my friend.
Anytime. He loves it. I love it. It's all great.
That is awesome. All right. So what do you hope is the biggest takeaways you get from Big Gay Wedding? What makes it feel to you like you've kind of reached the people you want to reach?
Well, it's kind of the same answer I would say for A Star is Born. And after A Star is Born came out, I met a friend of mine now named Austin, who he's a younger gay guy, and he was so touched by the book, and he felt like he saw himself in it. And so even writing Big Gay Wedding, I thought about him. And if there are people out there who see themselves in this book, then I feel like I did my job, and that makes me so happy.
Fantastic. Yeah, like I said, the themes are so universal, so I think everyone's going to find something to relate to in there. How is it now that you're in publicity mode and being part of that machine? Is that a good part of it? I mean, you've been doing this business for a long time. Is that just is what it is, or do you look forward to the publicity, or what's your favorite part and least favorite part about it?
It's kind of tricky, when I was a kid, I would dream of it. Oh my gosh, people want to talk to me. And sometimes it's kind of like, oh, I got to put on, a nice shirt. I got to brush my hair. What? So there's a little bit of that, but the truth is, I'm creating some art, and if people want to hear more about it, what a thrill! How exciting! So I'm filled with gratitude to be able to talk with you and others about what goes into this and what it's like. And so honestly, it's a real honor. I'm honored that anyone cares.
That's great to hear. I mean, it's such a great attitude. Now you'll have publicity now for the next couple of months. It comes out soon. When is the actual launch date for it? I know they can pre-order it now. Where can they pre-order it? What's the actual launch date?
May 30th is the big publication date. Big pub date for Big Gay Wedding. And pre-orders are available anywhere books are sold. I always love to suggest your local indie bookstore. The mom and pop bookstores right around the corner, down on Main Street, that kind of thing. Also, you can get some signed copies from the local bookstore in Palm Springs. So after the book comes out, we'll have some there, and other bookstores too. We'll have some. We're doing an event for sure at Book Soup in LA on May 30th. So there'll be some signed copies there if you're interested. And on my website, byronlane.com, there are links for ordering the book or ordering the audiobook, which is going to be narrated by actor Noah Galvin. who many people know from Broadway's Dear Evan Hansen, and he's on TV now on The Good Doctor, I think, and was on The Real O'Neills.
Good Doctor, yes. No, he's on Good Doctor, yes. Very cool. That is exciting. Yeah, I saw that because I think he read I think he read Star is Born when I was researching that. And he actually does a lot of audiobooks. So he has that great, even voice, but that's kind of exciting.
He's great. And it really, when he did A Star is Born, it was a dream come true, because years ago I was listening to some audiobook, and I was listening to the guy, and I thought, you know what? I love this guy's voice. And if I ever have an audiobook, I would love him to be my narrator. And it was Noah Galvin. And so when the opportunity came for him to do A Star is Born, I was thrilled that he said yes. And then when he said yes to Big Gay Wedding, I was thrilled again. So I feel like some stars are aligning for me. I feel really lucky.
That is awesome. Well, I'm so excited for everyone to get to see this book. Like I said, I enjoyed reading it in one fell swoop. You really can't put it down, but congratulations, my friend. It's such a great job.
Thank you, Scott. I appreciate it. And thanks for chatting with me.
My pleasure. Are we able to do some 5 questions with us?
Sure. Oh my God. I hope they're not too hard. I'm not good at math.
We're gonna make it a little separate interview here. We're gonna do 5 questions with the amazing Byron Lane, and coming up probably next week we'll air that. Let's go ahead and let everyone know again one more time where they can find your website, because it has links to some of your great projects that we talked about earlier today, and let them know where they can find you on social media.
My website, byronlane.com, and I'm on Instagram as byronlane.com, but it's DOT.com, because there's some other Byron Lane who took the Byron Lane. I'm on Twitter at Byron Lane, so all the usual places. And Big Gay Wedding comes out on May 30th, and it's a real help for authors like me if you pre-order. But if you get it on May 30th or after, it's fine. That's cool too. I appreciate everyone.
There you go. I like it. All right. Well, Byron Lane, a pleasure having you on the show. Stick around for me to do some 5 questions. Guys, you're listening to the Left of Straight show right here on the Left of Straight Radio Network.
Thanks for listening to The Left of Straight Show. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast distributor, and please give us a 5-star rating so more listeners can find us. You can follow us on social media, and be sure to check out our website, www.leftofstraightradio.com, for contests and other news and information. See you next week.